welcome back to the class once again. So today we'll be discussing about the salient features of our constitution. In the previous class we discussed about our constitution, how it was formed, and who all were involved in the framing of the constitution, the drafting committee, the constituent assembly, and all we have discussed in the previous class. So today we will be discussing about some of the important salient features of our constitution, or we can say the characteristic features of our constitution. So let us discuss one by one. So the first one is written constitution. Our constitution is a written constitution as well as it is a detailed constitution. Why it is called detailed constitution? Because each and every articles are defined properly in our constitution. So let me tell you about some of the things, like when the constitution was ready, it consists of 395 articles and 8 schedule. How many? 395 articles and 8 schedules in the beginning when the constitution was commenced. But right now we have 448 articles and how many? 12 schedules. 448 articles and 12 schedules. And this 448 articles are grouped into 25 parts. How many parts? 25 parts. Before when it had 395 articles, it was divided into 22 parts. So this is all about the written and the detailed constitution. Why it is called detailed? Because it consists of 395 articles when the constitution was started and adopted, and right now we have 448 articles and 12 schedules, which is divided in 25 parts. That means 25 chapters. Chapter number 1 to 25. Each and every chapter discusses every powers and functions, even about the fundamental rights, the active principles, fundamental duties, powers and functions of the union government, state government. So many more are there. Everything are discussed in detail. That is why our constitution is the lengthiest written constitution of the world. Why it is called written? Because there are two types of constitution: written constitution as well as unwritten constitution. So we have a written constitution because the book is, our constitution is in the form of a book, which we can see, which we can carry, which we can see whenever we require. But the unwritten constitutions are in the form of agreements and chapters. So this is all about the written constitution. So next one we'll be discussing about here. The next one, the next important feature, characteristic features of our constitution is number 2, self-made. Our constitution is a self-made constitution, or we can say enacted. Self-made and enacted constitution. Enacted constitution. So as you know that when we discuss about the Constituent Assembly which was constituted at the time, 9th December 1946, the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly was held. To 9th December 1946, the Constituent Assembly's first meeting was held, where they decided to start the formation of our constitution. And you know that it took how many years? 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to complete our constitution. So 2 years, 11 months and 17 days it took to complete our constitution. So on 26th of November 1949, our constitution was ready and it was adopted on 26th January 1950. So 26th November 1949 it was ready, constitution was ready, and it was adopted on 26th January 1950. So from here our country became republic. Our country became republic. Before our country was independent, we know that in 1947 India became independent, but our constitution was not ready. So after the adoption of our constitution, India was declared republic. So I'll discuss that also clearly. Now the next one we have is number 3. We have a preamble. In the previous class also I showed you the preamble and I discussed about some of the important features of the preamble. So this also need to discuss again. Preamble. So preamble is the introduction to our constitution. So I'm not going to waste much time in discussing preamble. In the previous class also we have discussed. So preamble is the introductory part of our constitution and it highlights the most important features of our constitution. Like who were the one to constitute our constitution, what resolutions were taken by the Constituent Assembly, everything is discussed in this preamble. So preamble is the mirror of our constitution, or it highlights the important features of our constitution. Like it reads like that: we the people of India solemnly resolve to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So these 5 important sovereign, so India is a sovereign country, India is a socialist country. So we the people of India resolved, we decided to make India into a sovereign country, socialist country, secular country, democratic country and the republican country. So sovereign means India is a sovereign country, it is free internally and externally from foreign power. Socialist, the wealth of the country will be equally distributed among the people of our country. There cannot be any differences between the people. Each and every people will be treated properly. Number 3, the secular. India is a secular country. There is no state religion. Each and every religion, they have equal importance in our country. They will be given equal importance. There cannot be any discrimination on the basis of religion. So India is a secular country where each and every people living in this country can profess, practice and propagate the religion of their choice. Now next one we have is democratic country. India is a democratic country. We have a representative form of country. Here the rulers are elected by the people. They form the government. If they don't work properly, then they are thrown out again in the next election. And the 5th one, which is very, very important, republic. Why it is called republic? Because the head of our country, that is the president, is elected by the people, though indirectly, who does not possess any hereditary right. But in the case of England, in the British Constitution, there we have a hereditary system of the royal family. So this is the 5 important features of our constitution. So apart from that we have, and to secure to all its citizens justice. What type of justice? Social, economic and political. Then next one we have is liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. Then for equality of status and opportunity and to promote among them all. Then fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. And the last one, in our Constituent Assembly, the last part, in our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this constitution. So 26th day of November, which we discussed before. Now this is the important features of the third important feature which we discussed. So if possible, you also go through the preamble, learn the preamble. You may be asked anywhere when this CAA case was protest against CAA, that means Citizenship Amendment Act, was going on everywhere in Delhi. Many of the people, I saw them holding a paper and reading the preamble and making the people understand what actually is the preamble. So even if you know, it is good for you. Okay. Now the next one we have is India. Next, number 4. Number 4 is India is a union of state. Number 4 important feature, India is a union of state. Union of state. union. So many states we have. So how many states are there? At present we have how many states? 29 states. And how many union territories? 7 UT. 29 states and 7 union territories. So it is a union. It is a union of all the 29 states along with the 7 union territories, which follow one constitution, one rules and regulations, and we are the citizen of this country. Now, next one, number 5. Number 5 we have is universal adult franchise. Number 5, what is the meaning of universal? Universal adult franchise. Universal means all over the world. Adult means one person who becomes 18, they are called as adult. Franchise means right to vote. Franchise means right to vote. So each and every person after attaining the age of 18 plus, they are given the right to vote. Everywhere throughout the world where democratic procedure is followed, a person who becomes 18, they are called as adult, and they are given the right to vote. Right to vote. That is, franchise is given to them. That is 18. So even in our country also, whenever elections are held for Lok Sabha or for state assembly or panchayat elections, who is allowed to vote? Who all are involved in voting? The person, those who have attained the age of 18 and above. 17, no chance. 16, no chance. But those who have attained the age of 18, those whose names are registered in the voter list, they are given the right to vote and take part in the formation of the government. So that is all about universal adult franchise. Okay, so the 6th point we have the federal state. Let me explain you what is meant by federal and unitary. Federal and unitary. Unitary means when the country is completely controlled by one single central government, that type of government is known as unitary state or unitary form of government. One central government. How many government? One central government. Whereas in a federation or a federal state, there are two forms of government. That means one central government is also there, and a number of state governments are there. So that is known as federal or the federation. So the example of a unitary state is UK, and the example of a federal state is United States of America. So where number of states has come together and formed a strong central, that means strong union. They have entered into an agreement to form a strong government. So federal state. So what this type of features do we have in our constitution? Of course we have a federal state. Of course number of states are there in our country. 29 states are there, and these 29 states are completely under one centralized government, that is unitary government, that means central government. So under the central government, all the states are there, 29 states are there. So it doesn't mean that central government has the right to crush down the rights of the state. No, it's not like that. Though states are there, they have every right to run the administration according to their wishes. So, but still, that means every state is under the central government. So we have two forms of government in our country also. We have a central government, which is known as union government. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the head of that government, and a number of state governments are there in our country that is run by separate different state governments. Like the Chief Minister of West Bengal looks after the administration of West Bengal. In the same way, 29 state chief ministers are there. So all together, they come under the federal state. And if we make a circle, that it becomes unitary features. Certain unitary features are there. Now, like there are three types of lists. Like union list is there, state list is there, and the concurrent list is there. So union government can make laws on the subjects mentioned in the union list, and a state government will make laws mentioned in the state list. State subjects can be laws can be made on the state subject. So everything's are clearly defined through our constitution. That is why our constitution is a written constitution which clearly demarcates the powers between the central government and the state government. This we can this I'll explain you later on when we discuss another chapter. Now next one we have is the next important features of our constitution is number 7, single citizenship. Single citizenship. Single citizenship. So we know that why it is. I know that you all also know that we are the citizen of this country, India. Though we live in different parts of our country. I live in West Bengal. Many of the people live in different parts of the state. Tamil Nadu is there. Then again. Bihar is there, Maharashtra is there. Wherever we live, we are all together in a single state, that is India. So in a political term, country can be called as a state also. We are the citizen of this country. So I am not the citizen of West Bengal, I am not the citizen of Bihar, I am not the citizen of Maharashtra. I am a citizen of India. Though I have a voter card of West Bengal, I am the citizen of India. I am an Indian citizen. So, but let me make it more clear why this is important to explain you, because in America, dual citizenship is followed. Suppose, for example, a person living in America, he will have how many citizenship? 2 citizenship. First of all, the country to which he belongs, that is US citizenship. Number 1. And the second citizenship will be of the state in which he lives. That means a person living in a state, he will have the citizenship of that state and the country as a whole. So dual citizenship. So that differentiation is not done in our country. We are the citizens of the country India. So we have only one single citizenship. We have a single citizen. We are the citizen of the country India. So though we live in any part, as our fundamental right says that we can reside and settle in any parts of the country as an Indian citizen. So if I go to the southern part of India, that time also I'll be an Indian. If I go to the northern part of India, I'll be as an Indian citizen. So we, the people of India, it is said, no, we the people of India. So we are the citizens of this country, India. So we have a single citizenship. And single citizenship follow one set of law, one rules and regulations. The entire country follows one set of rules and one set of rules. In a simple sentence, we follow the single constitution which is for our country. So constitution is the fundamental law of our country, fundamental law of the land which we have to follow. So from the top to bottom, from the president till the lower strata of the society, we have to follow the constitution of our country. And we are the citizen of this country. Whatever citizen, single citizen. We have been given only one citizenship, that is single. So that is all about point number 7. Now next one we have is number 8. Number 8 we have is fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. So this is also to be discussed properly, because fundamental right is one of the most important part mentioned down in our constitution. As I told you, 25 parts are there in our constitution, and fundamental right is mentioned down in part 3. In which part? Part 3. In this part, everything regarding the fundamental right is mentioned. So like a chapter. Part 3 is a chapter which is all about fundamental rights, which is discussed in detail. So what is fundamental right? You know that fundamental right is a basic right which is given to each and every citizen of the country so that they can lead their life properly. there cannot be any discrimination. So each and every article's rights are mentioned down in the fundamental right. So it starts from article number 14 to 32. So article number 14 to 32 deals with fundamental rights. Again, these articles are divided in number of articles. Okay, 14 to 19 deals with right to equality. So all these articles from 14 to 32 deals with fundamental rights. So let me tell you about fundamental rights. So fundamental rights. So I would like to tell you a little bit about fundamental rights, but we have a separate chapter on fundamental rights which we can discuss later on in a detailed way. So fundamental rights. So we have altogether 6 fundamental rights. Before we had 7 fundamental rights, and one is removed. It is deleted, but it is not removed from our constitution. So let me tell you what all those are. First one we have is right to equality, which is included in article number 14 to 18. From article 14 to 18, it deals with right to equality. We'll discuss in detail in the next class. We have a separate chapter on this. Now next one, right to freedom, is mentioned in 19 to 22. Article number 19 to 22. Then we have is right against exploitation. Exploitation means that means we don't have a right to exploit anyone. Rather, nobody can exploit us. Suppose, for example, I keep a servant to work my household activities, and if I don't pay him or her properly, that is exploitation. Like we are working wherever, we can work in a private sector or a public sector, and if you are not paid properly, we are exploited. So that exploitation cannot be done. Or we can say that small children whose time should be spent in school, and if they work in factories, then that is exploitation. Women and children who should be given safe house to live, if they are forced to work, that is exploitation. Mostly in our country, small children are found working in factories, BD factories, cigarette factories, or sweet factories, or sometimes we have seen them carrying bricks on their head and all. That is child labor and all. That is exploitation. That should not be done, because their original place is to be in the school. They must be sent to the schools. But many problems are there that we cannot know about it. And next one is a right to freedom of religion, is mentioned in article number 25 to 28. Article number 25 to 28. So article number 25 to 28 deals with freedom of religion. Freedom of religion. So we know that India is a secular country, and to make it more and more authentic, it is clearly mentioned in the fundamental right that we have the right to profess, practice, and propagate the religion of their choice. So 25 to 28, we'll discuss this also in detail in the next chapter. The next one we have is cultural and educational rights. Cultural and educational rights, which is mentioned in article number 29 to 30. Article number 29 to 30. Then culture, we know that what is culture. Culture means as an Indian we have our own culture which is famous all over the world. Culture means the way of life, our food, song, the language which we speak, and the religion which we follow, and different dresses which we wear. So that is a part of our life. That is a culture which we have to preserve it for our coming generation. So we have the right to preserve our culture. We have the right to preserve our culture. And the next one we have is educational right. So educational right is being made more and more very much important in our constitution. Before it was included in directive principles of state policy. From there they have brought it into the fundamental right. So according to the Educational Right of 2002, Right to Educational Act 2002, that has been made mandatory in our constitution to be implemented in all the states. That means children below the age of 14, children below the age of 14, they must be given free and compulsory education. Free means completely free. Free and compulsory education should be given to the children below the age of 14. So that is mandatory. Before it was in parity principle, many of the state government, they took it seriously. Many of them, they did not take it seriously. So due to that, our country was lacking behind. So in order to develop the country, education is very, very important. So it is said, no, padega India to badega India. So for that, we have to focus on education system of our country and to promote education among the weaker section of the society also. Education right. So each and every people of the country, they have the right to get education. The last one we have is right to constitutional remedies. Constitutional remedies. So constitution is there which gives us all the possible answers to our problems. Whenever there is a problem related to law and order, or our fundamental rights are infringed, our fundamental rights are taken away from the state government or an individual, then there we can get the remedy. Remedy means solutions are there in our constitution. So this is all about the constitution. Right to constitutional remedies, which is mentioned in article number 32. Now you might be wondering, 29 to 30, and now where is 31? That was right to property. That means article number 31, which dealt with right to property, now that has been removed. Article number 31 is removed and it has been sent to article number 300A. It is mentioned down article number 300A. So right to property was removed and is placed somewhere else. So it doesn't mean that we don't have the right to property. Even today we have the right to property. So this is all about fundamental rights, which we'll discuss again in the next chapter in detail. So let me tell you what is mean a fundamental right. Fundamental rights are the very, very basic rights given to the citizens of our country. Why? Why it is important? To lead their life with the full confidence and a dignified life and a prosperous life. So every country of the world, they have been instructed through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights after the formation of United Nations Organization, United Nations Charter. It's mentioned that the human right must be granted to each and every citizens of the country, and we get the human rights through fundamental rights. We have been given the fundamental right. We have been given a human rights. It is similar. Human rights and fundamental rights both are same. So we have got our human rights through the fundamental rights from our constitution. So altogether 6 fundamental rights are there. So this we'll discuss one by one in the next chapter. So the next one we'll discuss. Now after fundamental rights, another important feature of our constitution is that we have been given the fundamental duties. Along with rights, we have been given certain duties also that we have to perform it. Now, as you know that we only talk about rights, but we don't talk about our duties. We talk about our rights, but we don't talk about our duties. So as you know that whenever there is a power given to you all, then responsibility is also there, which you have to witness it. So with power comes the responsibility. I think you all have heard it. So we have been given the powers like the fundamental rights. We have so many fundamental rights. We have been given so many rights under fundamental rights. But apart from that, we have been given fundamental duties also, which we have to perform it very sincerely. I have written only one. I have only written one. Many other are there. I'll later on tell you. Number one duty of the citizen of our country is that we have to respect our constitution. It is our duty to respect our constitution. It is our duty to respect our constitution. You know what is constitution? We have been talking about constitution only. So we have to respect our constitution. Each and every citizen, their duty is to respect the constitution. Number two, we have to respect our national flag. You know, national flag, we have a flag in our country. We have to respect our national flag. So why I am trying to make you clear regarding this is that national flag. During Independence Day or Republic Day, we host the national flag, and many of the small flags are there, which is sold in the market, and every children and on every bikes we see those flags and all. And next day after the Republic Day or Independence Day, it is thrown somewhere else. So that is what type of Independence Day we celebrated, what type of Republic Day we celebrated. Love for our national flag only for one day. We have to respect our national flag each and every day in our life. So national flag should not be thrown anywhere. So national flag must be respected by the citizen of the country. You cannot sit on it, you cannot tear it, you cannot put leg on our national flag. If the national flag which we have in our school, colleges or everywhere, we can clean it again, we can dry clean it again, we can use it for the next time. So national flag must be respected. So first one is constitution, second one is we have to respect our national flag, and the third important thing which I notice every time being a teacher of the school, national anthem. National anthem is sung every morning in every school. But I see many of the students, once the national anthem is started, they keep on moving, they keep on running. Either they are late, they are running to join the line. That is wrong, my dear children. So whoever it is, being the citizen of the country, we must stand still during the national anthem. Wherever we are, wherever we hear the sound of a national anthem, we have to stand still and head straight. So that is, we pay respect to our national anthem. So national anthem for other people, it may be anything for them, but for the school children, you all know every morning we sing a national anthem, and the value of national anthem doesn't mean that every day we are singing means its value is declining. No, this is the way we begin our school day with our national anthem, which makes us feel pride of our country. So it is our duty. It is not forced upon you. It is not forced upon you. You have to realize what your duty is. So respect the constitution, respect the national flag, and respect the national anthem. So apart from that, this is only point number 1, which I try to make you understand. So children, next time please keep it in mind. Wherever you hear the national anthem during assembly time, be wherever you are. Later on you can join the assembly. Now, apart from all this, I'm not going to write on the board. I have given it over here, so you can go through it one by one. I'm reading it over there. So the second important fundamental duty is to uphold and take pride in the ideals of our freedom struggle. The next one we have is to protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of the country India, to defend the country and to render national service. It is our duty to render service to defend our country. Then we have to promote common brotherhood among the people of the country. Next one, to preserve the rich heritage and culture of India. The next one we have is very important, to protect the natural environment. It is our duty to protect the natural environment. The next one we have is to develop scientific outlook. That is also our duty. The next one, to safeguard public property. The property of the government, property of the country on which we walk. Road is a public property. Park is a public property. Bridge is a public property. So all these properties we have to take care of it. Bus, the government bus, state bus is also a public property. It doesn't mean that wherever you sit you make a hole on the seat. So that is not wise for the people. We have to think that is a property which belongs to each and every people of the country. Next one, remain away from violence. We should keep ourselves far away from violence. The next one, to work for achieving excellence in all spheres of activity. We have to achieve excellence. And the last one, every parent or guardian has the duty to provide opportunities for education to his child between the age of 6 to 14. So it is the duty of every parents. It is the duty of every parents to provide opportunity for the children below the age of 14. That means the children below the age of 6 to 14. So parent must provide them opportunity. They must send them to schools. And that is also, as I told you earlier, that is also been made mandatory through the fundamental right, and an act is also made, the Government of India Act. Okay, so that act comes under 2002, Right to Education Act. Right to Education Act 2002, where children are given right to education, free and compulsory education is promoted to them. So they are given food, midday meal is given to them, free books are given to them, free education is given to them, no fees are charged from them. So why it is done so? So that the poor parents even can send their children to schools where they can learn, everything which will help them to flourish in future. So this is all about fundamental duties. So next topic. So another important feature, directive principles of state policy. Directive principles of state policy. So which is mentioned down in part 4 of our constitution. Fundamental right is mentioned down in part 3 of our constitution. Directive principles in part 4, and one more thing, fundamental duties 4a. It is mentioned in 4a of our part 4a of our constitution. So directive principles. So what is the meaning of directive principles? So directive principles are the guidelines. These are the directives given to the state government or the central government to follow the policy. That means to include the directives given in the policy formation. Whenever they make a policy, they have to include those directives mentioned down in the directive principles of state policies. It is mentioned, no? Directive principles. What type of principles? Directive principles. Where they have to include the directive principles? While making a state policy. Whenever making a state policy, any of the state government, whenever they make a policy to run the government or the administration, they have to include the directives given down in the directive principles of state policy. The chapter itself is directive principles of state policy. Now, all these directive principles are categorized under the following heads. Number 1, socio-economic policy. Socio-economic policy. Number two, Gandhian principle. Gandhian principles. Number 3, directive principle. The fourth one is general. So, socio-economic policy is there, Gandhian principle is there, liberal democratic principle is there, general principle is there. So, in socio-economic principle, number of policies there, like free and compulsory. That means each and every individual must be given adequate means of livelihood, equal pay for equal work. Many are there, so that we can discuss again in a separate chapter. We have a separate chapter on fundamental rights, and after that we have a separate chapter on directive principles where we can discuss all this in detail. Gandhian principle, the principles of Gandhiji is also mentioned down in the directive principles. Then we have liberal directive principles. Then the last one we have is general principles. So all these are there in our directive principles. So this is also one of the most important feature of our constitution. So next one we have is point number 12, directive principles. So all these I am discussing, but whatever is given in the syllabus, that we have to do it. The next one we have is bicameral. Bicameral legislature. What is mean by bicameral? Bicameral means two. Unicameral means one. Unicameral means one. Bi means two. What type of legislature we have? We have a bicameral. That means very simple. In the parliament, how many houses we have? We have two houses. Lok Sabha and how many houses? Number one, number two. So how many houses we have? Two houses. So Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So what type of legislature we have? We have a bicameral legislature. What is mean a bicameral? Bicameral means the state country in which there is two houses in the parliament. That is what do you call it? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So bicameral. And the country where only one house is there, that is known as unicameral legislature. So apart from this, apart from the parliament, we have 7 states. We have 7 states. 7 states where we have bicameral legislature. That means in every state we have a state assemblies, which we call it as a state legislature, and there are other states altogether. I told you 7 states are there where we have 2 houses, that is bicameral legislature. That means state legislative assembly and the legislative council. Legislative assembly and legislative council. So which are the states? Let us say number 1 Andhra Pradesh, number 2 Bihar, number 3 Uttar Pradesh, number 4 Jammu and Kashmir. Then we have Karnataka, Telangana and Maharashtra. So once again Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. After the formation of Telangana also had been given 2 houses, bicameral legislature. That means legislative council and legislative assembly and the legislative council. So lower house as well as the upper house. So this is all about bicameral legislature, bicameral feature of our country. We have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Now, the 13th feature we have is we have a parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of government. What type of government we have? Parliamentary. We have a parliamentary form of government, or we call it as cabinet. Cabinet form of government. What type of government? Parliamentary form of government we have. We have a cabinet. We can call parliamentary government also as cabinet form of government. So in a parliamentary form of government, we have Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, the President as the 3 constituents of the Parliament, and Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. They are the real head of our country, and the President is the nominal head of our country, and all the government is formed in Lok Sabha, and elections are conducted after 5 years, which is known as general election. And in general election, whoever has a majority of seats in the Lok Sabha, they form the government, and the head of the winning party is been chosen as the Prime Minister of the country, who has been given the real powers to run the administration of our country. So at present we have a very strong Prime Minister. His name is Sri Narendra Modi. Okay, so this is why it is called cabinet form of government. Why it is called cabinet? Because all the important decisions and important policy formulations are done by the cabinet. So who is called cabinet? There are 3 categories of ministers. Number 1 we have is cabinet ministers. Number 2 state ministers. Number 3 deputy ministers. Cabinet ministers are those ministers who are given important portfolios. Important ministers are given to them. So now who all are the cabinet ministers? Like a railway minister is there. Home Minister is there, Railway Minister is there, External Affairs Minister is there, Finance Minister is there, Defense Minister is there, so on and so forth. So those ministers who hold important ministries, they are known as cabinet ministers. So Prime Minister along with this cabinet ministers decide every policy of the government. That is why we call it as cabinet form of government. So all the important decisions and the policy formulations are done by the cabinet minister. That is why we call them as a cabinet form of government. So I hope you all are understanding it. So the last part, so many are there, so I am going to skip some of the topics. So now last one we will be discussing one more, that is single independent judiciary. We have one single independent judiciary. Our judiciary is independent. Independent judiciary. Independent judiciary. Point number 14, I think so. I forgot it. So which number? So independent judiciary. Our judicial system. You know that the three organs of the government: legislature, executive, and judiciary. And judiciary is been made independent in our country. Why it is made independent? So that they can do their work sincerely and honestly. That means they can. Do justice. They can give justice without any fear and hesitation. So certain points are there, they have been made independent, like they are appointed by the president but cannot be removed by the president. The salaries are given, they are given good salaries so that they cannot be, or they cannot be attracted towards bribe and all. So their security is provided by the state government and all. They are not allowed to practice after retirement and all. So all these are there to which make the judiciary very, very important, and impartial judiciary is there in our country. So now these are some of the important features which we discuss right now. So out of this so many features, we have to do only which is prescribed down in our syllabus. So, whatever I taught is just for your knowledge only. So the few are there that we have to discuss it, which we have to go through it. Now the last part of our chapter is welfare state. So what is mean by welfare state? The state where all the important facilities, civic facilities, are provided to the people of the state, where each and everything like schools, colleges, hospitals, road, all the required things by the people are provided by the state government. That is known as a welfare state. So in order to make India a welfare state, so we need to work on it. The Indian government has to work on it to provide them socio-economic and welfare development to all its people. Social development must be there, economic development must be there, each and every people must be given good jobs and all. So many different types of laws are also made in order to protect the rights of the people. So several laws have been passed for ensuring socio-economic justice in the society, and in this way we know that India is doing its work slowly and gradually in order to promote children in the education. Right to Education Act also has been passed, where children below the age of 14, they are given free and compulsory education. So you know that democracy in India really cannot become successful unless the socio-economic development is not at all achieved. So in order to achieve the socio-economic development of the country, we need to focus more on directive principles of the state policy, because the guideline is mentioned in the directive principles what the government has to do. But if the government does not follow it, then definitely we cannot think of achieving a welfare state, or we cannot think of achieving a socio-economic development in our country. Now we have 29 states in our country. Now you can see some of the states are highly developed and some of the states are lacking behind in education. Some are industrial industries are set up in many of the states, but in many of the states that is lacking behind. That is why many other people, in order to search their job, they go to other metropolitan cities. Recently, you know what is going on in our country. Many other people, they have gone out to other states to work, and now they are stuck over there. So if these facilities are provided in their own states, then definitely that state will also develop, and the people also will stay in their own state. Then there is no need to go to other state in search of job. Now you can see the southern part of the country, the people, they give more importance to education. So each and every people in the southern part of our country, they are highly educated. Now if you talk about other part of the state, education is zero. Government is working, they are providing salaries, but teachers are not going to the classrooms and all. The children, they reach to the school, but teachers are not present there. So what to do? Government is trying, but the people who should take the responsibility as a duty, they are not doing it. So how can we achieve this progress? So apart from that, you can see many of the states, we can say Punjab, Haryana, they depend upon agriculture. Agriculture is good. The government make policies focusing more on agriculture. So agriculture is being done properly there. Whereas the agriculture in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar is lagging behind. So it is all this thing depends upon the wishes of the government, whether they want to do or not, whether they have whether they have formed the government to fill their pocket or to look after the welfare of the people. So unless each and every state government, they don't focus properly on the guidelines mentioned down in the dietary principle, then we cannot achieve social and economic development in our country. So all the guidelines, we call it guide. So dietary principle is a guide which has to be followed by each and every state government. So 29 state governments, all are different. Some of them they follow strictly, some of them they don't follow strictly. But one disadvantage over here is that if your fundamental right is infringed, you can move to the court. But if the dietary principles are not followed, then the state cannot be dragged into the court. So it is not justiciable. So children, I think you understood about dietary principles. So each and every country, each and every state, if they follow the guidelines mentioned down in the dietary principles strictly, then socio-economic development can be achieved easily. And if it is not so, then there will always a difference between the states in our own country. There will be a imbalance. There will be imbalance in the state. Some states will be highly developed. The people living in the state will be more and more prosperous, whereas people living in some other state, they will be lacking behind, no job, and in that case they will go to other state in search of job. So children, this is all about from this chapter, salient features of the Constitution of India. So I hope you all have understood it. So the first chapter from civics is over, where we discuss about our constitution, how the constitution is framed, and the second part, important features of our constitution, and the preamble mostly I have explained you. So I request you all to go to the preamble, learn the preamble, so that anytime, whenever you require, you can speak it out with the people of India. And then the last thing I would like to tell you is that the questions are given in the description. Link is given in the description link. So download it from there. Questions you download it from the description link, and please write down in your copies. So please watch this video again and again, so that with whatever doubts you have will be cleared from this video. And for the previous one, the previous part, our constitution, that link is also given there in the description. If many of the students, those who have not seen the first part of the chapter, our constitution, they can click on the link given below, where you will get the video of the previous chapter and the questions of the previous part. The questions all together is given in the description link. So please go through it and work hard, and then side by side you complete your assignment also. Till that time, take care. Bye bye.